Christian, who is currently facing charges for multiple murders in Portland, Oregon. On May 26, 2017, Christian was on a packed train when he suddenly broke out on a racial rant towards two young women. A bystander on the train captured the distressing scene on video, and if we rewind the footage right there, you'll actually see Christian smack an innocent bystander's phone to the ground for no reason. The situation quickly spiraled into chaos as passengers, including Micah Fletcher and Talisa Namkai Mechi, bravely confronted Christian to protect the targeted girls. Christian became increasingly aggressive and confrontational. The situation only escalated from here. Christian pulled out a folding knife and attacked Fletcher, Namkai Mechi, and Ricky Best. The attack resulted in the deaths of Best and Namkai Mechi, while Fletcher survived but sustained serious injuries. He fled the crime scene, but passengers of the train followed him, and he was arrested about a mile away. After the arrest, shocking footage emerged of Christian in the back of the patrol car.
My first rodeo. You know, I just stab the neck for fun. Oh yeah, you're right, I do. I'm a patriot. I'm happy as a mother. Hopefully died.
However shocking you thought Christian's case was up until now, wait till you see how he acted in court. Christian faced trial and was convicted of 2 counts of murder and attempted murder. It was here he displayed disruptive and erratic behavior, which deeply frustrated Demetria Hester, a black woman who he had verbally attacked on the train. Hester expressed her disappointment with the police's handling of the case, believing that it failed to protect her and the other victims from Christian's actions.
The officer asked me for my ID and treated me like I was the assailant because of my color. The officer let Jeremy walk away to commit the senseless murder while looking for me.
Then, Christian had an outburst.
Go back to Tennessee too. We don't want you here. All your race baiting You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch. You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch.
As he was escorted out of the courtroom, he added more disturbing remarks. The judge sentenced him to 2 consecutive life terms, plus more than 25 years for his other convictions. Jeremy Christian was a racist criminal that took the life of an innocent man. However, what happens when the courtroom has a racist judge, like in the case of Judge James Convery, who was presiding over a divorce hearing involving Benjamin Taylor and his attorney, Yvette Ramos Alvarez, who represents his soon-to-be ex-wife. The primary objective of the hearing is to establish Taylor's annual income, prompting his wife's attorney to request a copy of his Social Security earnings statement.
Now Ms. Kolsky comes back after everything was finished except for those 2 pieces of paper, his Social Security earnings statements, which he doesn't have, and this supposed report that exists for Lee.
He gets his Social Security every year indicating.
The earnings statement.
He gets his earnings statement. He gets it. He gets it every year. So she asked for it. Why didn't he provide it?
He doesn't have it.
He doesn't. He threw it away?
I would presume he did.
Oh, come on.
Judge Convery isn't buying the story, so he decides to poll the people in attendance to prove a point.
Judge.
I get it.
I don't get it.
You get it? You get it? Everybody gets it.
Everybody gets it.
Social Security sends it to your home
They do.
every year.
Alvarez, however, dissents based on her personal experience.
They sent it to my home 4 years ago. I haven't received it in the last 3.
This disagreement leads to a tense moment, and Judge Convery makes a comment that ultimately costs him his job.
Well, when did you become an illegal alien?
Taken aback by the judge's comment,
Judge.
Alvarez, who is of Hispanic heritage and formerly served as the president of the Hispanic Bar Association of New Jersey, expresses her dismay.
Judge, I am going to... That was a totally inappropriate comment.
I didn't mean it. I'm only... listen to me.
But, right as Judge Convery attempts to backpedal, it's too late. After a brief period of silence, Alvarez returns to the courtroom 10 minutes later. Although Judge Convery expresses his regrets, The harm had already been done. Soon after this altercation, Judge Convery was publicly reprimanded by the New Jersey Supreme Court. Judge Convery crossed the line and lost his job for it. However, how does it compare to a 20-year-old convict who used his car to intentionally mow down a crowd of anti-hate protesters? That was the case of James Field Jr., who is facing charges for murder in Virginia.
Her injuries, but it's very noteworthy. She had a lot of psychological injuries. She was not injured when the car drove into the crowd of protests.
Or just plowed through hundreds of people downtown Charlottesville.
Fields, an avowed neo-Nazi, drove his car into the crowd during a white nationalist rally, resulting in 35 injuries and the death of counter-protester Heather Heyer. Heyer, a 32-year-old paralegal, was in a crowd of protesters demonstrating against white nationalists and white supremacists opposing the removal of a Confederate statue. James faced state trial and was convicted of first-degree murder, multiple counts of aggravated malicious wounding, and leaving the scene of an accident. However bad you think his crimes were, the reactions in court were worse. Outside of the courtroom, supporters of James gathered to argue that Fields' crimes were an act of self-defense.
That boy was scared by your mob that this city might get out of control. This is on the hands of the city government, of the police, and the radical left.
Do you have any accountability for this death at all?
Not at all. These radical leftists are the ones that brought violence. They're the ones preparing for violence. They said in their chants, the Nazis, the fascists, they came prepared for war.
A defense James and his team would also argue in court.
It is alleged that Fields acted in this case because of the race, color, religion, and national origin of that crowd that was at the bottom, the intersection of 4th and Water Streets.
However, prosecutors and ultimately the jury saw it differently, and James Fields Jr. was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility for parole by Charlottesville Circuit Judge Richard Moore.
Today, this defendant will spend the rest of his life in prison for violating that law.
James seemed pretty emotionless as the sentencing and proceedings were underway. However, the same cannot be said for the case of Jose Torres and Kayla Norton, who were facing numerous charges, including assault in Georgia.
That's not me. That is not me. That's not him. I would never walk up to you and say those words to you. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
The incident occurred when Kayla and Jose joined about a dozen other people in a convoy of pickup trucks, waving large Confederate flags around Douglas County, a suburban Atlanta community. According to police reports, the group passed by the victim's residence, which was hosting an 8-year-old child's outdoor birthday party that included a cookout and bouncy castle. They then proceeded to park their trucks nearby and began shouting derogatory racial slurs toward the black partygoers. But it didn't end there, because after someone at the party threw an object towards the truck in an attempt to make them leave, Kayla Norton retrieved and loaded a tactical 12-gauge shotgun and handed it to her boyfriend, Joe Torres. Torres pointed the loaded shotgun at the group of African-American partygoers and stated he was going to kill them, while his co-defendants stated that the little ones can get one too, referring to the young children at the party. Listen as one of the victims describes what happened that day.
I mean, they terrorized us. I mean, they pulled out guns and knives, called us racist slur, and they threatened to kill us. And that was terrifying.
If their actions were bad, their behavior in court was even more shocking. Norton couldn't hold back tears during their sentencing as she apologized to the family suffering.
I would never walk up to you and say those words to you. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
In a surprising turn of events, Aisha Bryant forgave the couple. The couple could only cry at her apology. They were sentenced to a combined 19 years in prison. Jose Torres and Kayla Norton showed remorse for their crime. However, not all racists have that presence of mind, like in the case of Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Bryan. All three men are facing charges for murder in Georgia. On February 23, 2020, Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man, went jogging in Satilla Shores, a neighborhood near Brunswick in Glynn County, Georgia, when the three men noticed Arbery and assumed he was a burglar. They began pursuing him in their trucks.
Got a shot. Okay. I said, come on, let's go. So Travis runs and gets his shotgun, Because the other night, the guy stuck his hand in his pants.
Brian followed in another vehicle and recorded the entire incident, including Arbery's murder. No arrests were made for over 2 months. The GCPD claimed the Brunswick District Attorney's Office initially advised them not to make any arrests because he did not see grounds for the arrests of the men involved. In fact, a letter was also written to police on their behalf reiterating their claim that they believed the McMichaels' actions were perfectly legal. As if their crimes were not disgusting enough, their reactions in court were even more disgraceful. During the trial, Travis showed no remorse for his involvement in the murder.
I shot. Why? He had my gun. He struck me. It was obvious that he was attacking me, that if he would have got the shotgun from me, then this is a life or death situation. I'm going to have to stop him from doing this, so I shot.
Travis was adamant that it was an act of self-defense, but when prosecutors asked the investigators involved to read out Gregory McMichael's transcript he had with his son prior to the shooting, Travis's defense seemed to not add up.
As they're on Holmes Road, where is Mr. Greg McMichael? Line 21.
He says that he is in the back of the truck with the 357.
All right, now specifically, on Holmes Road in the back of the truck with the 357, he then says specifically, I want you to quote this, line 25, what does he specifically say?
Quoting, he says, I said, stop, I'll blow your head off or something. I was trying to convey to this guy we were not playing,
Okay.
The father-son duo received life sentences without parole in a state trial for their roles in the killing. Additionally, William Roddy Bryan, who recorded the cell phone video of Arbery's killing, was sentenced to 35 years in prison after his involvement in the fatal chase was deemed a federal hate crime. For many people, these racists got what they deserved. However, this wasn't the only time a racist was sentenced to life imprisonment. There was the case of Russell Courtier, who was facing multiple charges, including murder in Oregon. In August 2016, Russell, a white supremacist prison gang member, ran over Larnell Bruce Jr., a black adolescent, with his Jeep, killing him. Throughout the trial, the prosecutors highlighted Courtier's racist motives and a deep desire to be part of a white supremacist brotherhood, ultimately leading him to join the European Kindred Gang, the largest racist prison gang in Oregon. This was discovered through the Klan's shield being tattooed on Courtier's leg. Despite this, Courtier's mother was public about the fact that her son was not racist.
Never been racist. We have, like I said, I have a friend that I've known for like 35 years. Her family is black and white mix, and they call her Aunt Betty. She's black.
In court, Courtier was facing multiple charges, including murder, failure to fulfill driver responsibilities, and violating Oregon's hate crime law. Courtier was emotional and had tears in his eyes for a majority of the trial. Colleen Hunt, Courtier's girlfriend at the time, played a role in the crime by allowing him to use her Jeep. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter and received a 10-year sentence for her involvement. After a thorough legal process, Courtier was found guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life with a minimum of 28 years before being considered for parole. If you thought these reactions were shocking, you'd be amazed at this video of the most dangerous teenagers reacting to life sentences.